Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Today we're going to be looking at making a tri-pocket cowgirl journal for a challenge over at Cut It Up, where the theme is women's history. So I'm going to start with the base of this, and the base is from Little Scraps of Heaven, the cut is, and I'm cutting it from Bazzill cardstock. Now what I'm trying to show you here, and I cut off the top of my board here, but my board is over 12 inches and the paper extends over 12 inches. So that is how I was able to cut this piece as large as I did on my Cricut. Now you'll notice how this little piece is folded out here with the little bit on the front, that little piece. I ended up folding it a little bit differently when I actually made this folio. Okay, so you can see that I've figured out where I want all of my pieces, and what I did is I used masking tape and taped them all into place just temporarily. Then I took them all off and I went over them with vintage photo ink and a little bit of chocolate ink from Close to My Heart. Now these tags are from our sponsor, actually, Cas-ual Fridays, and they have dies and stamps. And here's another die, the Hope die. And these little hearts are from this music note die. I just simply placed my paper strategically so it would just cut the hearts. There is the tag die that I showed you earlier, the little cuts. Now this stamp set is from them also, and I used several of the quotes. I just took off parts of it. So we have never give up. And you'll notice that I stamped this on a piece of scrap paper. I don't throw any of my paper away. I just throw them in a bag. And then when I know I want to get something that just takes a little piece, I've always got it. Now that is Hope is Stronger Than Fear, but all I did was I just inked up the Stronger Than Fear part, and on that section I just inked up the Hope. And now I'm going to cut these sentiments apart here, and I'm not too concerned about cutting them straight, and you'll see why later. So this one, Never Give Up, I'm actually putting onto this little card. Now these cowgirl pictures are from Luna Girl Images and Gecko Gals. All right, so it's time to glue some of these pieces into the little journal. And you'll notice that I only glued around 3 sides, and I will on this piece also. This creates little pockets where I can stick little things. I did not create little things to stick in all these pockets. However, I certainly can stick receipts in them or just little notes, anything I choose to stick in there. That little piece actually was cut from a Cricut. These little tickets actually come with the journal from the Little Scraps of Heaven. I used my offset feature and cut it smaller and larger to get the little pieces on the outside and the inside of my tickets. Now the little Hope, I decided I wanted to use that, but I didn't feel like it had quite enough color difference than the picture I wanted to put it on. So I decided I would emboss it. So I just laid it down on this stamp pad, sprinkled it with my embossing paper, and shook off the excess. And now I have my heat gun, and I'm going to go ahead and heat that up and melt that powder. I always think that's such a cool technique. I just love watching it melt on there. So now I'm going to adhere that little Hope onto this pretty cowgirl and her wonderful horse. I use a 2-way zig pen for any small work like that. This next photo, I'm just trimming away some of the excess. I cut some of these pieces a little bit too large to fit inside pockets, and I knew that I wanted some of them in pockets, so I decided I would trim them a little bit. I ended up not putting this photo into a pocket. I ended up using her on the back of the journal, on the back cover. Here I'm just kind of going around after I sort of distressed it, and I do that sometimes with my fingernail and sometimes with that tool that you see that I'm using right now. And that tool is from Close to My Heart. I don't even know if they sell it anymore, but I love it. I use it quite a bit. So this piece is nice and distressed now that I've used that distressing tool and ink. Now, this piece, if you're thinking, well, she sort of put that ribbon a little bit crooked on there. Yes, that was a little bit intentional. Well, not a little bit, it just was intentional. And that's because when I wrap it around the journal, it's going to come in at an angle, and you'll see that when we close it up. Here I'm adding some double-sided tape and some glue because, again, this is going on the middle here, and I want to make sure that stays on. Actually, I'm sorry, that's going on the back cover, so I want to make sure that that really is adhered strongly. Now, I'm not going to have you watch me glue all of these into place, but I do a few of them for you here. Again, I'm just going around 3 sides so that I'm creating pockets. And so I have a pocket there because I only went around 3 sides. And then I'm going to put the part that goes on the front to give it a little more color. And again, I'm only going to go around 3 sides. So now I have created 2 pockets for this one section of this little journal folio type piece. So like I said, I'm not going to have you watch me do all of that. That would get a little boring and the video will get pretty long. All right, so now I actually had this little piece of cut barbed wire on my table from a prior project. And so I decided, oh, that would be fun to add to this. What I did is I cut the piece, the other side of this is a picture. And I really liked it. I thought it was cute. But then I also had this tag. So I went ahead and glued the tag to the picture so that I'd have something on both sides. Because you can see both sides when you open and close this folio. This picture, it wasn't quite sturdy enough, so I decided I wanted to back it with some cereal box. I do a lot of backing with cereal box, I'll be honest. I use it as like dimensional tape. Sometimes I use it just to add stability, and it works out very nicely for this project because it's brown on the back, and brown goes very nicely with my folio here. So I'm adding the Never Give Up here to the front. And remember those itty bitty little hearts? Well, I just sort of picked up some glue off of there, and I'm going to glue those little hearts right here like it's holding the Never Give Up in place. Now you can see in the little journal where I've placed my tickets in there and a little tag. Now I'm coming in, and again, only putting this around 3 sides. So again, I've created a double pocket there. Now this piece is, this is a fun one. The way I got that denim is I actually laid a pair of blue jeans on my scanner, and that's how I got that denim piece behind there. Now what I'm doing is I'm gluing another piece of cardstock onto the back of that, and you'll see that here in a minute. Again, just so that I didn't have plain white on the back. I'm adding some ribbon now. This is a really, really thin satin ribbon. I believe it's about 1/8 of an inch maybe. And I'm adding that to this tag that I'm going to stick in behind the little ticket cut here with the horse. And I'm going to come back to this pretty girl and her horse. I've decided that I want to add a little something to the back again because you can see this tag when it sticks out the top. And I didn't want it to be plain white. So what I did is I found this scrap of paper and I just added it to the very top, cut around it, and you'll see there it'll work. I wanted to make sure I had it wide enough or thick enough down, and it was. And now I'm just finishing it off with a little bit of ink to get rid of white edges. So now when I turn that folio over, you'll see that, there you go, you can see the brown there from the top. I'm working on the back and I'm adding the little piece of pink here. I really like this paper. It is from Die Cuts with a View. It's called the Rustic stack, and it is long retired, I'm afraid. But I love it. I love it. I'm going to be sad when I use it all. This is the back of it. So again, I'm using some of that double-sided tape as well as glue. I've got my crocodile here, and I'm going to put a little eyelet in this. And you'll notice here that your crocodile does have different settings, so you can change it for different size eyelets. Now you see I'm using a wide eyelet, and so I have to punch a big hole and put my wide eyelet in this one. And I did change my crocodile back to the other setting. I just didn't film that. So squeeze that, and there's that one. Now these are reinforcement stickers, and you can find them at your office supply store or maybe even the dollar store. And I thought I'll just use those for a little variety. I inked those up and just added them to this tag. And now you can see the back of that tag that I cut that other piece of paper and put on the back of there. This is another paper from the DCWV stack. I'm going to add some ribbon to these. I'm adding about, I think this one's about 1/4 of an inch maybe, and it's a brown satin ribbon. That was the very end of the reel, so it was sticky, so I cut that part off. And I'm sticking that in. I decided, oh yes, I have to stick it here because when I close it up, I want it to show. And again, you'll see that here in just a minute, that you can see all these pretty textures and patterns. When I close this, it makes a nice triple effect. This is a piece of burlap that was on my desk again. I'm cutting away some of the frayed edge there, or the little pieces that came off the frayed edge. And I'm just going to glue this all the way down. It is not making a pocket. It is just glued down nice and tight. This is a little piece of peach ribbon that I had cut for a different project and didn't use, but it matched the peach in this paper. So pretty. Now I'm adding some magnets to work as my closure. So I'm using a magnet and a washer, and you can see there it comes together pretty well. The way I adhere it, well, let me just show you the washer first so you can get a nice close-up of what that looks like in case you want to look for those. I will also link below what these are and the sizes, so you can look in the box for that information. I will describe very carefully what I'm doing here. Since it's a little fuzzy, I forgot to back off my camera. I put a little piece of cardstock back there behind there just to protect that picture in case any glue came off. But I put a little bit of sticky, double-sided sticky tape on. Then I added the fabric tack over it, and I did that for both the magnet and the washer. Okay, you can see them both on there. And I left it a little bit loose so that when I add more, it'll still work. I'm adding a little E6000 to this little clock charm. And I think I got that on Amazon in a big collection of little clocks, metal clocks. I'm going to trim away the excess ribbon here. you can see there how the magnet really does hold quite nicely in the washer. It works really well. I use it quite a bit. So when I open it up, you can see all the different things here. The little ticket, there's the little tag. Hopefully you could see how all the little ribbons stuck out nicely there at the beginning. I left little white spots on the back of the tickets where I could write notes, or I could glue little itty bitty pictures, whatever I want to do. There's that cowgirl on her crazy horse there while she's shooting. The other floral tag, and then this pretty girl here with her horse. Looks like maybe a thoroughbred. Flip it over. Here's the back side. And there's that sweet girl. Maybe that's a quarter horse there with her. You can see that these act as pockets. So you can stick things in there. A lot of fun. And the back kind of lifts up. So that completes my project for today. Hope you had a great time. Any questions or comments, please leave them in the box below. I will leave links to all of my products down in that box so that if you would like to find something, you will be able to do that. So here I am. I'm going to fold it back up, and again you're going to be able to see how the blue lies on the brown and the peach lies on the pink, and all the little ribbons show and flower. And then you can close it up and it stays all put together. Again, I'm just so happy you joined me today, and let me know what you think, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.